to review with you how to read a number and how you would read a decimal as well. Starting with regular number, I'm just going to grab a couple of digit cards. So for example, if I were to read this number, typically we read in groups of threes. This is just 2, this is now 42, and this is 542. Most people know how to read in groups of 3, and actually our whole place value system, we do the same similar thing. This is 542 ones. We don't usually say ones at the end, but typically the decimal point is what is telling you that this is the ones period. A set of 3 numbers is a period, so this whole section is the ones. Now, of course, you don't have to have the decimal when it is just a whole number. That is going to tell you that it's the start of what it will be a fraction of or a decimal of a whole, okay? So now that I have 542, let's add another digit to this. Let's go with a 7. So now I already have a set of 3 numbers in the ones. This is actually starting a new period, and that period is called the thousands period. But how I know to say thousands is I actually will have a comma. I know your teachers have probably taught you that every 3 numbers you need to add a comma. Well, it's every 3 numbers are, of course, in a period. So when we read this number, we say the whole 3 digits, which there's only a 7 here. So we'd say 7. We read the name of the period for the comma, thousands, and then we would read the next 3-digit number, 542. So if I continue to go, let's add some more digits here. And I'm going to add a whole nother period. Do I have room to add a whole new period is the question mark. Okay, let's add millions. Can you see that? Ooh, it's cutting close. So I'm going to scooch it down just a little bit so you can see. And I'm going to add just one more digit card. Now obviously I already have a set of 3 numbers. I needed to add a comma. So now when I read this again, I read all 3 numbers, which I only have 1 in this period. So 8, I have the comma. I read the period's name, millions, 137 thousands, 542. And that is how you read a number. So let's try one more time. Let's pick another. Actually, I'm going to switch it a little bit here. Don't forget to throw your commas in where they belong. Hopefully that number is in my screen. And if it is not, I'm going to try to squeeze as much as I can. Okay, so now we have, again, I only have 2 digits here. It says 21,345,096, and I don't have to say that because it's a decimal. I hope you know now how to read whole numbers. So now that I've reviewed with you how to read a whole number, we are going to discuss reading a decimal. So we've talked about the place value order, and it actually looks like this. It has ones, then it goes to opposite of what it was on the wholes. So tens were here, so therefore it's 10th, then 100th, then 1000th column. So I'm just going to pull a couple of place value cards, and I'm going to place them in here. Now I obviously made my own decimals to go with them. So right here, how you read this decimal is first you read the wholes. So I have 1, and again, we don't have to say the 1, but when we do see this decimal, we say and. This actually is the word and. 1 and then in order to read this back number or any decimal, you just look at the number itself and read it. So this number is 3. So you say 3 and you read the column or the place that it's in, 10th. And there's obviously more than 1, so it's tenths plural. So this is again 1 and 3 tenths. Let's try another one. I'm just going to add another digit. So again, I have 1 and now I have the number 30. So I'm going to say 1 and 30. The last place is in the hundredths. So this is 30 hundredths. Let's try another one. So once again, I already had the 1. Now I have back here 302. You can see this whole set, 302. We don't add commas and decimals. We only add them in the wholes, but this is 302. So we say 1 and 302, the last place, thousandths. And that's how you read a decimal. All right, so I am going to give you a challenge here. So we did have ones, tenths, hundredth, thousandth. Well, next would be 10,000th and then 100,000th. We don't have to know that in 5th grade, but I just want to show you that this is how we read numbers if you ever go back that far. So I'm going to switch our numbers up, and we already did through the thousandth. So I'm going to create a number, and we are going to read it through the thousandth. Okay, so this is just like before. We have 5 and 491 thousandths. Now I'm going to add 2 more digits. Now this is a little bit more difficult. What you actually have to do is you have to look at the decimal places here, or all these fractions of a decimal, or fractions of a whole is what I should say. And so you look at these 5 digits here. And if I were looking at these 5 digits, I actually would pretend like there is a comma right here. Now, do I really write a comma in there? No, but when I read it, I'm going to read it 49,103, and then I'm going to label it with the last place value. So how this is going to say, you're going to pretend like there would be a comma right here. So you might have to imagine this before you read so that you know how to read it later. So this would be 5 and 49,103 hundred thousandths. And that is how you read a decimal.